Hello, peeps. Welcome to Heart Talks. I am especially excited about my guest today. I say that every time, but this time I really am. Today I've got Kelly and Kewaunee Lapseritis with me, and this is going to be a multi-dimensional show, because that is pretty much what we deal with, is multi-dimensionals, all of us. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We're honored to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Now listen, I wanna first of all thank you for your time, but what I really want to say to you is that I've just come out of the Sasquatch closet about a year or so ago, and I have been very cautious about speaking on this subject, because to me this is a subject that I expect respect and love and admiration, and you guys have surpassed that. You have a relationship that I respect so very much, and am so grateful that you guys have the courage to get out there and share your stories in a world that is not always accepting on this subject. So bravo, thank you very much.
And thank you.
And now I want to mention that there is a conference coming up, and let's talk briefly about that.
Okay.
Pardon? What word did you use there?
The conference?
Yes, the conference, we're talking about the Spiritual and Psychic Sasquatch Conference on September 17th and 18th. We're having it at the Chewelah Peak Learning Center. Chewelah, the town of Chewelah, is a small town 42 miles north of Spokane, Washington. There's going to be many different people coming from all over the world: New Zealand, Australia, Russia, England, and so on. People who've had experiences. So we welcome people to join us next month, and they can go to our websites, which is www.psychicsasquatch.com, and the second one is sasquatchpeople.com for more information.
Yes. And I just happen to have a poster of it right here, so I'll show that off a little bit so everybody can see it.
Yes, and we will post that under the YouTube whenever we get it done, when we get recorded.
Excellent.
Okay, and this is a conference of like minds. Is that correct? Everyone is a pro, respectful.
Exactly. It's more than it is about the Sasquatch themselves. It's about the messages that they have for us, for humans, and their spiritual nature and the wisdom that they have to share with us. Just about our own selves, our own higher selves, and what we need to do to evolve.
Yes, this is nothing about monster hunting and that kind of thing. It's about the real Sasquatch that's been overlooked and, in a sense, made fun of, and because of the psychic aspects. And I can't apologize for the real world, for the universal reality. And so I just objectively put out the truth, and those that are ready to accept it can embrace it, and those that are offended or want to remain ignorant of that, that's fine. We bless them, and if people want to come to the conference that are still not of like minds, they would certainly learn a lot and meet a lot of friendly and warm people.
And then you were talking about day 2 was more of a spiritual gathering on that day.
Yes. Yeah. The first day will be more of a conference setup where we'll have speakers on the stage and, indoors kind of thing. And then there'll be an option to camp or stay in the bunks overnight there at the facility, which is a beautiful, beautiful wilderness campus, just surrounded by woods and hiking trails and things. And so the following day, we'll meet at the outdoor amphitheater that's there at the facility. So it's surrounded by woods and everything, but we'll have more talks of a metaphysical and spiritual nature, where we'll also do, drumming and meditation and those type of things to help really connect with our higher selves and with the Sasquatch people and all of the nature spirits.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Sasquatch there, well over 100 or maybe 200. And the thing is that most of them will be interdimensional or coming in and listening in and monitoring, and the other will be in the physical, walking around, but they're not going to be just standing there showing themselves. But this is has really charged them up because they want to educate the public. They've been, shall I say, misread on who they are, and they want this out. And we've got, well, probably many people, 50 or 100 people may be coming that's already had these experiences. Mm-hmm. So 90%, well, actually all of the speakers but one have had multiple ongoing experiences there. And Dr. Igor Burtsev, who'll be coming from Russia, I don't think he's had anything directly, but he's been gathering. He's open-minded, very open-minded. He's been gathering information in Asia and Russia on the psychic Sasquatch types there that they call the almist. In some parts of the country, in a different language, they call them the Kaptar. But at any rate, they will be there monitoring, and it's those people who are ready to be contacted, they will contact them at that time. So it's a very unique opportunity. It doesn't mean they're going to be sitting around having coffee, waiting to be interrogated or anything, mm-hmm. but they're reaching out. This is the time they're reaching out, and this is the place for it to happen. We didn't know that they were going to tell us all that, but that's where it's at. It's going to be super unique.
They really inspired this whole gathering through several different people. It really all started almost a year ago when I met SunBow online, and I found that he had transcribed one of these messages from the Sasquatch. And I read it, and it just hit my heart so strongly. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what they tell us, but this is written so eloquently. And, I have to know who this guy is because he's legit and, has a regular relationship with the forest people, obviously. So we connected, and I found out that, he's already transcribed 6 messages before then. But once we met, the Sasquatch were so excited to have the 3 of us connected, but also we both had a group of followers, an audience that's, following what we have to say and what we're sharing. And so now we've collaborated to bring, all of these people together, and the Sasquatch continued to transcribe messages to him. It's a total of 50 now. And actually, we just got this published into paperback finally. It's the Sasquatch Message to Humanity, as it was told by the elder Kamooh to SunBow. And so that's really what kind of jump-started it all. And people read the messages and then started really connecting with others, or they opened up enough to understand that that's who was connecting with them. And we got a few phone calls saying, hey, I'm getting messages from the Sasquatch that you guys need to have a conference, and I'll help you put this together. I have experience with it. And so we're like, okay, it's time. And that's all we really needed, was somebody to kind of give us a little kick and, in the right direction on how we needed to do that, because neither one of us have ever held our own event like that. So it all just came together perfectly. The Sasquatch chose the date and the location and brought all these wonderful people into our lives to assist with it, and people that are meant to be there and participating. So it's going to be wonderful.
Yes, and it was, you know, interesting that 5 years ago I started my own publishing company, Comanche Spirit Publishing, and published my second book under that. So we had everything we needed just to do it, and so we did everything for this wonderful book that's mind-blowing. I mean, you have to reread it even. There's so much information about the history of our planet, their history and what happened, and then how it came about with us and how we mingled with them years ago and all that changed. And they tell the whole story about the Earth and how it was populated. It's just a really fascinating read. So people right now can get it by going to Amazon.com, and all they have to do is plug in the Sasquatch Message to Humanity, and it'll come up. It's for $10. We've never tried to make money, and we'll never even recover all the money I've spent on expeditions and things, but that's not what we're trying to do. It's educating the public, and so they understand, you know, where we're at and what's happening with all this, and that's what's important. Because, you know,
isn't that a sure sign that we are all raising our vibration, that these kind of gatherings can actually happen, and in the vibration of love and respect that they should be? That really makes me feel good to know that this is happening now, and when that many people gather and that vibration is so strong, I know it's just going to go out into the world, and it's going to help.
Yes, that's what the Sasquatch say too. It's more than the conference itself and the messages that are delivered from the speakers. It's the energy that will be created there. It's the gathering of the like-minded and open-hearted people for the same purpose, with unconditional love and respect for them. And that's what is so exciting to them. That's what's so significant, is that it's going to cause some kind of big energetic shift, according to them anyhow. I feel it too, but that's straight from the Sasquatch. So
yes,
yeah.
Kamooh, the elder grand shaman who gave this information, he held it in his brain, all of the 50 chapters, and just, you know, delivered it, and he had him, you know, write it all down. But he's went around, and he's still doing it around the North American continent, to the chiefs of the different Sasquatch tribes, and incidentally, there's many different races of beings, not just the Sasquatch. So, and they all work together and are friendly. But so they'll be at the conference, and I don't know how they do that. Some will come, maybe astral project in, but it's a super big event to them, and we didn't realize, you know, the reaction that they would get, you know, from all this. But we're pleased. And of course, I've been working with them for 37 years on all this stuff to reach the point where I'm at now. So it was a long road of in and out of the wilderness, and talking to people, and interviewing, and reading and studying and so on, to try to understand. And of course, when they started coming and talking to me, and all that just changed my life. You know, it's our lives are almost like a science fiction movie. The thing is, what we're doing is all for real.
Right. Well, let's just share a private little story on how the two of you met.
Okay, I guess you want me to tell this one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I like to say it started with a dream, because technically it did. I had a dream of him, and that's what made me really realize that this, you know, that there was some kind of real connection here. But I was going through a spiritual awakening of sorts, and I purchased both of his books because I was having some Sasquatch experiences, although I didn't quite understand it. But I knew that, you know, there were interdimensional beings around me guiding me, and I wanted to learn more about it. And so I purchased his books, and before I even really started reading them, I started to read it a little bit, but I noticed his phone number in the back of the book. And before I knew it, I found myself calling it. I didn't even plan it. I didn't decide to. I was just dialing his number. And so he didn't answer, and I started to leave a message for him, and I talked for probably a whole minute. And then he picked up the phone, and I got so nervous I hung up on him.
Thanks a lot.
I know. So, but thankfully he called me back, and that was the sign that I needed, that, okay, I am supposed to connect with him. And so he was mentoring me, basically asking me questions about my experiences, so he could tell from my answers that I was legitimate, and I already knew that he had many of the answers that I was seeking, because I was going through the same kind of thing. So he was a mentor to me, for a few months, and then the Sasquatch started coming to me and to him and to other people all over the world, actually, and basically saying, hey, you guys are soulmates, and you two should be together, and you two would have a wonderful life together, and everything like that. And so, while we trust our guides, at the same time, our human heads were kind of like, hold up, that's, that doesn't seem very plausible to me. We were 2,000 miles away. We'd never met, and we'd never discussed anything like this. Like I said, he was like a teacher to me, and so I never thought of anything like that. But
the Sasquatch told me 5 weeks before that I was going to meet my soulmate, and they described her and said different things, and I said, well, okay. I was not overly excited about it. They said, and if they said sometime soon. Well, soon could be next week, next month, or next year. And, I'm not going to sit around. I didn't sit around waiting. I was going through my life. And so she sort of surprised me,
Right. But finally we decided to, okay, let's go ahead and give this a try and get to know one another and see if this is what they say it is. And so we spent many months talking on the phone every day, and ended up falling in love with each other before we even ever met.
Aww.
Although we still wouldn't completely admit that because we hadn't met. But once we finally did, we knew. And there was also, even, intuitive people that we didn't know were telling us these things. And we had an astrological chart done too, which said that basically we were a perfect match. And so that was kind of like, oh, okay, let's start paying attention here and seeing where the flow is going to take us.
That's amazing.
And we've learned and grown so much together, since we've been together too. We're neither one of us are the same person that we were before we met.
It's true. It's interesting how that all happened. It really affects a person, but in a very positive and very warm and spiritual way, actually. Spirituality is respect for all living things, and for the Mother Earth as well. And everything has some kind of a spirit in it, some kind of an energy, even rocks and minerals. And of course, the Native American, the First Nations people have said that, and our science is, that's baloney, but Sasquatch, no, they're so powerful, unbelievably powerful, psychically, and things that one would think they're a magician kind of thing. And I don't really want to say that, but that's the only way I know how to describe them and their abilities that are very genuine and very, very real.
Right. Well, Kewaunee, could you share with me, with our guest, the story you were telling me of your healing? Because that makes you very special and acknowledged by the star people and all of our other multidimensional things.
Yeah, this is, of course, before my first book came out, The Psychic Sasquatch and the UFO Connection. But I had a ruptured disc, and all of a sudden, it was so strange how it happened. I didn't have an accident or anything. Apparently, the doctor said it was rubbing away all those years, and I did carry a 110-pound backpack, and I was always in shape and could hike for miles, and but apparently little at a time it wore on me. And one day I just was sitting and I couldn't stand up, just sitting in a chair, and it kind of freaked me, you know. I mean, I was in a sense paralyzed to some degree, you know. I just was disabled. And the doctor said, "Oh, this is the worst case of a ruptured disc I've ever seen." And this is a chiropractor that I went to. He said, "You need to see an MD, you know, a neurosurgeon." You know, huh? You know, I thought it was something he could just adjust, you know, that it was a pinched nerve of some kind. And the pain was just coming. And I mean, just, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 10.5, you know. And so I went to the neurosurgeon, and he said, "Yeah, we'll set you up for surgery right away." And I said, "Wait a minute, you didn't discuss this with me." And then he admitted it was going to be experimental and so on. And so I said, "No, I'm not going to do it." And he said, "Look, I'll give you a prescription, but for painkillers. But he said, once they're through, you'll be back begging me to, you know, for the operation." And I don't know why I said this, but I said, "Doctor," I said, "you'll never see me again." And I wheeled myself out in the wheelchair and went home and started telepathing. I just hadn't thought of that for a while, and this was early on in my experiences, 1987. And so I was just in bed most of the time. I could barely get around, and I had people waiting on me, friends come over, do my laundry, bring me food and stuff. And it was, you know, someone that backpacked around the world by age 25 to over 40 countries, have been very, very active. And all of a sudden I'm, what? You know, I can't move, barely move. So I started telepathing to them because I don't know why it's coincidental, or maybe it's not, but I was on a UFO flight line. And about every 2 or 3 days, if you go out at night, you could see them. I mean, plain as day, right there, not way off in a distance, but close. So I telepath all day long, and nothing happened. And I started getting frustrated because I'm in horrible pain, getting about 4 hours sleep a night and not a deep sleep at all. And I couldn't recognize myself in the mirror because my face was crunched up with pain. So I did the second day, telepathed all day. And by the end of the day, I just broke down and wept and wept. I was so frustrated and so much in pain. And I said, gee, they've even, you know, apparently they don't care or don't know, you know, because I know how to telepath and I knew what I was doing. So
and were you virtually asking for help?
Yes, I was asking for them to come and heal me. And so that night, the second night that I telepathed, I turned off the light. And just as I clicked off the light, I was laying in bed, always on my back because I couldn't move hardly. I heard pitter patter, kind of a shuffling of feet. And I could barely turn around and look behind me just a little bit. And there were 3 about 4-foot beings standing there with little suits on. And they said, "We're here to heal you." And I said, "Oh, thank you. God bless you." And next thing I knew, I was out. Then I heard this, and it woke me up. This is what I heard in my mind. And I know that it was one of them talking to the other. Something like this. And it woke me up. And I looked up, and one of them had a cylinder in his hand here. One was there, and the other on the other side. And I looked up at him, and I said, "Oh, it's only you guys. I love you." And then he put me back out again. I mean, what do you say to someone who has come to heal you? You know, God bless you and I love you are the 2 highest forms of adulation in the universe. So I didn't know what to say other than, you know, that. So the next morning I woke up and I looked at the clock. I had slept 10.5 hours, peaceful sleep, and now 0 pain. And I was shocked. So I sat up at the edge of the bed and I sat there for 15 or 20 minutes, giggling in between, thanking God, praying and thanking God. But I was giggling. It was just like a little miracle. It's like I said, like a science fiction movie. So I got up, walked to the bathroom. I couldn't believe it, but I noticed my gait. I couldn't stretch it out at my normal gait. It was like a pulling, or back there, just a tiny bit of a pressure. And I said, I don't know what's going on, but I'll wait, you know. And I stayed home and, of course, didn't do anything. And that evening, when I went to bed, clicked the light off, they were there again. And they said to me, we have to work with you one more time. And I said, fine, please come ahead. And I thanked them and put me out. And the next morning, I could walk normal. Now, about a week later, I wanted to go out of town to visit a friend of mine that had a 1,000-acre ranch and spend a few days with him. And back then there were no ATMs or anything like that, so I had to go to the bank, and it closed at 5 o'clock. So on Friday, I realized I lived 13 miles outside of Roseburg, Oregon, and I realized I had to quickly get into the bank if I wanted to have money to travel. So I made it into town, got out of the car, and it was 7 minutes to 5, and it closed at 5. So I'm jogging down the street, and I get to the corner, and on the other side of the corner is the bank, but on my left is one of the doctors I went to crossing the street. And he comes to the other side of the street, he stands there, he's bald-headed, and he keeps rubbing his head, pointing to my legs, and his mouth is moving and nothing's coming out. And I said, have a nice day, doctor, and I jogged across the street gingerly and went to the bank.
Yeah, explain that one to the doctor.
And the ETs never asked me if I had insurance.
I love it.
There has to be humor in it, because the Sasquatch like to joke around. There's different ETs that I've seen and that have come to me was more of a serious nature, but again, the Sasquatch are around us and the ancient ones all the time. Mm-hmm. So they'll joke with us or misplace things. What happened to that? And we don't understand. And they put it back in the drawer, but they apported it interdimensionally. I mean, things are happening all the time. They come up and touch us and do certain things, even in the house, or start talking or greet us good morning. And so we're under very unique circumstances there. And we're just grateful, you know, that we have this experience, and we just want to fulfill our purpose here in this plane of existence. And during these times that are so important, you know, during Earth changes. Yes,
yes. Ambassadors is what I would describe you guys as. You know, you represent the humans, and you represent our star family, and what an important role that is indeed.
Yeah, they've used that word a couple of times, but I don't want any labels. We're just people who care, and that's all. I don't need a label. I didn't do this for money and fame or any of that stuff, and so I don't care, other than just to get the job done and to help people, to reach out and educate.
We just have so much love for them, and they have so much love for us, that it just comes naturally to want to share that with others. But, you know, we're also both so sensitive and empathetic to what's happening on our planet that, you know, it wouldn't be right not to share the information that we have if it can help others. You know, we just want to help people, want to help the planet.
It'd be irresponsible, in my view, to not share. And yes, I put my head on the chopping block in the sense of to be ridiculed, but this is really emerging of anthropology and quantum physics that I see it, the way it's unfolded for me. So I'm just objectively presenting the truth. And yes, I can't prove it based on the paradigm, the scientific paradigm, but I took that paradigm as far as it'll go objectively and just put down the information. Then I started having all the experiences. So now I've documented 371 people who have had telepathic experiences with the Psychic Sasquatch. 371. And 17% of them had ETs, either saw a spaceship landing an hour or two before on their property, and or there was an ET or several ETs with the Sasquatch when they talked to the person. So you can't just dismiss this. Why why are more and more people coming forward? Out of these people, 3 were physicians, 1 was an attorney, 3 were 3 were scientists, and 2 were college professors, and then people from all walks of life. And they needed someone to talk to, their own spouses that were afraid to even discuss it, and said, oh, that's nonsense, I don't want to hear that. And that's what they told me. And so I've been their sounding board and giving a little guidance and show them it's okay to have real, genuine experiences, that they're more special. Don't feel that you're out somewhere, that you're special. It's a wonderful experience. And I think it's okay to talk about it publicly, about psychic stuff. If people don't like it, then they should refer to it as quantum physics, because it's synonymous. It's one and the same.
Right.
In other words, it's mainstream science that science is ignoring or doesn't want to label it mainstream when it already is.
Exactly.
Well, just like so many other things, we're having to let go and undo. As I was growing up, the stories on TV about Sasquatch and Bigfoot were not friendly. They were not presented with love and compassion at all. And so now we have to undo that. And thankfully, we've got this technology where we can share stories like your guys's, so that we can start undoing those terrible stories and let people know that there is a very personal and compassionate and unconditional relationship to be had with all of the beings. And when I say forest people, I kind of mean all entities that are multidimensional. I kind of clump them up together. Is that kind of...
They all work together.
Right.
We're all from the same source, so it might as well.
Yeah, you know, some research says, oh no, they're aggressive, and they're dangerous. And you know, if you go out, if someone was looking for me with a gun, I wouldn't go up and try to befriend him if he wants to shoot me. You're certainly going to avoid them. They're not thinking. I've even had people say, I found a cave, but I'm going to go up in there to see if they're in there. Say, don't do it, I told them. So, why not? I said, do you want somebody walking into your house if you had the door unlocked and just walking around helping themselves? I said, that's an invasion of privacy. I said, then someone either shoot you or throw you out or have you arrested. So they're going to scare you away or do stuff like that. But when they do, oh, look how bad they are. They're awful. They're aggressive. They don't understand that they're projecting their own aggression, their own violence to them, and they're getting it back. Like attracts like. It's one of the universal laws.
Right.
So, you know, if they went with them with love in their heart and a smile, they would have resolved a lot of the issues that science are trying to resolve with a long time ago.
Right. Okay. And how would you suggest for people who now are kind of awakening to this realization that you can have this relationship? What is your advice for people to do?
Well, first of all, let go of all fear in exchange for love and trust. And it is sort of practicing. It's monitoring your thoughts and practicing unconditional love. We're assaulted every day in America. It seems that people are so busy and aggressive and tired and stressed that, you know, on the freeway, they'll give you the finger or whatever. I waved to them, and in my heart, I said, God bless this man, because that needs to be neutralized out and not feed that aggression. It would be, if I yelled at him or in my heart swore at him, I'd be throwing gasoline on the fire. So I tell people, you know, let go of any negative emotions and let go of your fears and stuff, and think of them with unconditional love. Some people want to leave gifts and stuff, and that's okay. I don't really habituate, that's a word they use to lure them in. When I give them gifts, it isn't for luring, it's because we want something to give to them, because they've been so good to us. So we don't use that to lure, that's trickery. And some people who genuinely want to give and with an open heart, and therefore they get the communication and friendship back. Those that are just doing it just for curiosity or trying to trick them, they'll know, and they won't have any response.
Right, because they are intuitive and they can read our true selves, not what we may be projecting.
Exactly.
Egotistically.
And they may either just choose to avoid a person, or that person may not be evolved enough to be able to sense them and their connection to them. So kind of goes, you know, hand in hand. And there's nothing wrong with that either, because everybody's at a different stage of evolution. But, you know, the Sasquatch do appreciate people that try as well, but they also, like he said, that want people to set the fear aside and approach it with unconditional love.
Yeah, Dr. Wayne Dyer said that they did a study with people who give to beggars and so forth, that the beggars, their serotonin levels rose because they were so happy they could finally have some money to eat. But they also measured the person who gave it to them, and they've rose just as high. So if you're giving and sharing and reaching out, it changes one's vibrational frequency. And that's what the Sasquatch people and ETs tune into. The higher the vibrational frequency, the more attracted they are. And they could find them very easily, a person that way. So otherwise, the lower vibrational frequency, they have no interest in. It's too difficult. Besides, those people would freak out if they try to communicate with them.
Right.
They're not ready yet, kind of thing.
Right. Well, I know for me, my relationship is very lighthearted, very, very loving. And when I'm out in the woods, I always ask to connect with the grandmother there, and have had a beautiful connection up at Priest Lake. And I am just honored to represent this beautiful relationship that can be had, and that I am sure as we all grow, as we all awaken, as we all raise our vibrations, which is kind of happening, you know, automatically anyways, but there are those of us who just try to help it right along. And to have these gatherings like you guys are having, I'm not sure if I'll make it up there, but oh my goodness, how exciting. And are you guys, is there going to be anybody video doing any kind of taping or recording up there?
Yes, yeah, we will. We have a friend that has some equipment, and so we'll be recording it. And SunBow, who transcribed the messages, he actually has experience with editing videos and things like that. So we'll put a video together, but it's also going to be live streamed through a platform called Crowdcast. So you can watch it live, or even go back and watch it on there anytime, although it won't be edited real nicely like the video might be.
Right.
But then also yesterday I was told that there may be a documentary, a filmmaker from Canada coming, who's been interviewing a lot of people about the spiritual Sasquatch and the respect that we need to have for them, and the history, and basically people in communication with them. So I don't know if that's official yet, but I really hope that she'll be able to make it to, you know, interview some folks too, because that, I mean, there's no better setting really to talk to people about that particular matter than, you know, at our conference and with all the people that'll be there that's already connecting with them, or, you know, wanting to learn what they can do to connect with them on a spiritual level.
Right.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of the Sasquatch connecting with people who are camping and meditating in the woods and stuff. It's just this rare opportunity. I remember back in 2011, my editor for my second book wanted to have an experience, so she came to my cabin at the time where I was living in the foothills of the Cascades, and the she put up her tent at night and nothing happened. You know, I told her what to do with it, and nothing happened. And she's right there. And so I told her, I said, in the evenings, I go for walks if you want to join me. So she did. And we went for a walk and discussing this. She's trying to figure out to make the connection. And while we were talking, I was in the middle of telling her a story about something. And I'm going on and on and on. And all of a sudden, as we're walking, two ancient ones came right behind us within 6 feet or so. They were invisible, but I knew that I could see their outline, and their energy absolutely stopped me from continuing. And I said, wow, maybe she feels it. Now she'll understand. And I turned around and said to her, do you feel that? She said, I don't feel anything. And I said, well, there's two ancient ones right here. And she looked around. I said, well, they're in another dimension. I said, truly. And don't you feel it? And so on. And I'm trying to get her to tune in. And she said, no. And all of a sudden, one of the ancient ones says, no, I'm saying the Sasquatch will do this and help, or the ancient ones to her and to try to help her. And he said, never mind us, finish the story. They follow me all the time, so they were listening in and enjoying the story, and all of a sudden in the middle of it, they're talking about them, and they could care less, right? You know?
You see, that's exactly what I mean. The relationship is so regular that people probably have some idea that it's going to be, you know, some other way. And this is the point I have made on Heart Talk so many times. These relationships with multidimensional beings is very regular. Just like with our angels and our guardians, we're just regular. We're just like how we are. We do not have to act a certain way. They know how we are. We're like this all the time anyways.
Exactly. And they love us how we are too.
Yeah, I can't change just for Sasquatch. Well, okay. Go ahead.
I had a relationship, a friendship with a shamanist, basically, an ancient one named Haloti. And I developed a good friendship with her down in Oklahoma and northern Texas. And I would leave gifts for her, and she would leave information for me and tell me things. And it was very, very interesting kind of thing. And one of the times in a cabin down there, I left, she was gone, and the chief came in from the tribe in Oklahoma, and I was in the Kayamishi wilderness. And I left him a crystal from Brazil, a gorgeous crystal, as a gift. And he wasn't around, and Haloti said, well, he'll come one of these nights. So the day before I left, I put it between me and my friend who wasn't a researcher. He owned the cabin, and he was a friend of mine. He was sleeping way on the other side of the cabin, and I was sleeping on this side. There were 7-foot beams going across, or 7.5 foot beams, however they had that in this huge kind of one-room cabin. So during the night, I had set it down there, and I was going to put it out, and I told them, you can have it, you know, and come and get it. It's a gift. So during the night, I heard this tremendous thud. And I opened my eyes, and I was facing the window, and there's a porch right there. And I thought I'd see one on the porch, that, you know, and I waited and waited and nothing. So I closed my eyes and went back to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, the crystal was gone, and my friend was outside drinking coffee. So I said, oh, I guess he's got the crystal, looking at it, you know. But I went in, and he said, no. He said, they were here. And I said, did you see him? He said, no. He went to turn over, and he realized he couldn't move. He was completely paralyzed. This has happened to me early on, and they told me they would never do it again. But he didn't want my friend to see him. So, but the bang I found out was he hit his head. when he came in to get my crystal, he walked right through the door. I don't mean he opened the door. Peshoma can walk, they can walk right through solid matter, but then they're physical on the inside. So once he went through the door and he walked in, bent down to get the crystal, he turned around, and there's several of those, I think 2 big ones there, and he hit his head on one of them. So anyway, I went down the following year, and Haloti came every single night. It was still light, but just as it was getting dark, and sang the whippoorwill song to me. And it was just incredible, and almost put me to sleep kind of thing. And I was there for 10 days by myself. And the last time I was down there in the Kaimisha wilderness, and I told her the last night, I said, this is probably going to be the last time that I'll come down. I said, with earth changes and so many things happening in the world, I said, I won't be traveling as much. And I said, I'm very sorry for that, because I've had a good relationship with several of them. And she cried. And I felt horrible. And then she came in, that was about 9:15 in the evening. And then I had my little alarm set there for 7 o'clock, because someone was going to pick me up, drive 4 hours to the Dallas airport. I'd have to drop down into northern Texas. And she came 6 o'clock in the morning, doing the whippoorwill song, waking me up and crying. And I told her I loved her, and she told me she loved me. And but now she moved up here. She's up here in Eastern Washington.
Nice.
So I told her one of these days I want to give her a big hug. She's about 6'4", 6'5", and they're beautiful. They have beautiful faces. They're the ancient ones. These are ancient ones, not Sasquatch.
Right.
And the difference, I should say, is the ancient ones have human faces, and some of the women are absolutely beautiful. They could compete with Miss America. I mean it. And a lot of them have green eyes or deep, deep blue eyes. And they have arms in proportion to their bodies like we do, and they have round heads like we do. The Sasquatch, however, have ape-like faces, a conical head, or sagittal crest, as people would call it. Their arms are way down to their knees, and at times they will drop down on all fours. But don't be fooled. They're more human than we are. In other words, they don't go around murdering each other. They don't start wars, and they don't destroy the environment that sustains them. They're way more human than we are. So we've got to wake up to that. It's anyway, part of our message here too.
Wow. Okay, and so you two have a little bright star. What is his name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. He must be just practically a Sasquatch all on his own.
It's funny you should say that.
We say it all the time.
Funny you should say that. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He climbs on things and jumps, and he even has big feet and hairy legs. So, yeah, but no, he's very sensitive and intuitive, and has a great big heart. And he's all the time telling us that he sees Bigfoot. He calls him Bigfoot and Sasquatch, but he's telling us all the time that they're coming in and talking to him, and everything like that. So he's very attuned to them.
Tell her about when you found a juvenile playing with him in
he was
Arkansas.
Probably only about 3 years old at the time, and his bedroom was right beside mine. I was just going to sleep after he'd been in bed for an hour or two already. And I heard him giggling, just laughing as hard as he could in his bedroom. So I was, let me go see what's going on. What could he possibly be laughing at? At nearly, 11 o'clock at night or something like that. And so I walk into his room and just kind of peek, and I can see an interdimensional Sasquatch. I can see like his figure. He wasn't fully physical, but I could see how tall he was and his face and everything. And he was sitting there tickling Jeremy's feet at the end of the bed. And he was just laughing hysterically and having a good time. But it made me laugh. I just closed the door and said, okay, everything's fine. So
That's beautiful. Well, look, guys, we're running out of time here, and I hope like maybe we could do another interview after the conference and we could talk about what happened there. And I also would like to do another show with Kelly on the subject of autism. And, well, actually, both of you, we could talk about vaccinations, and we could go really deep into that whole subject. So thank you so much. I love you guys. I love our Sasquatch people, our forest people, our star people. I am so grateful that I personally have been able to raise my vibration enough to have these interactions and these relationships, which drew me to you guys. And as a gatherer, I am gathering the best of the best, and I thank you so much.
Yes, we thank you. And if anyone wants to look at the books and more information on things, they can go to the two websites, the PsychicSasquatch.com and SasquatchPeople.com to be more information there for that about our up and coming conference and everything. Okay, and let's mention the conference again. Where is that? When and where? Okay, it's the Spiritual and Psychic Sasquatch Conference, September 17th and 18th. Held in Chewelah, Washington, which is 42 miles north of Spokane. At the Chewelah Peak Learning Center, which is up on the mountain near the ski resort, so it's at a high elevation, and it's a beautiful campus surrounded by wilderness. It'll be a great place to connect with the Sasquatch. Everybody's welcome and have an experience. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you again soon. Everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this show as much as I have. My heart is filled. I am just open to receive all the love and blessings from the Sasquatch people. I hope to have another communications myself. I've got some great picks, and I am just very proud to be a part of the whole. So from my heart to yours, peeps, namaste. Namaste. See you at the conference.